If you're about to pick up Dancer for the first time and find it a bit overwhelming to get started, then this video is for you. This guide will teach you how to play Dancer and Endwalker at level 60 specifically, including everything from weapon skills to abilities, but not role actions. We finish off with an opener and general rotation advice combining all of the things you learn throughout this guide. Now then, closed position is the signature mechanic of the Dancer. Always make sure to use it on someone in your group, or even your chocobo partner when out and about alone. Closed position does not actually do anything on its own, but it copies certain effects to your partner, which can be very beneficial for both you and your dance partner. Next, let's talk about your basic attack combos. Cascade and Fountain make up a 1-2 combo that both have an effect in common. They have a 50% chance of enabling you to use a more powerful version of them by granting Silken Symmetry and Silken Flow respectively. Using these proc attacks will not cancel your combo, so you can freely choose to use the procs immediately or finish the 1-2 combo first. Just make sure to never use Cascade or Fountain before spending the proc they produce, so you don't accidentally lose out on additional procs. The attacks that use these procs are called Reverse Cascade and Fountain Fall respectively, and should be used whenever you have procs. If you have any temporary damage increasing buffs, it may be beneficial to prioritize spending the procs before finishing the combo due to the higher potencies. For area of effect, or AoE for short, you instead have the 1-2 combo Windmill and Blade Shower. This combo should only be used with 3 or more targets. However, take note that Blade Shower is equal in power to Fountain if there are just 2 targets, so in those situations it is still worth finishing the combo should it already be started. These 2 attacks also produce the Silken Symmetry and Silken Flow procs, and introduce the Rising Windmill and Blood Shower proc spending attacks. Rising Windmill is equal to Reverse Cascade with 2 targets present, but Blood Shower is superior to Fountain Fall with 2 targets. Additionally, take note that all of the AoE attacks happen in a circle around you, meaning you have to get up close and personal to use them. These procs having the same names are not by accident. You can use the AoE proc spenders like Blood Shower after proccing them with a single target combo, allowing you to quite freely flow between single target and AoE as needed. All 4 proc attacks also share a 50% chance of producing a Fourfold feather. These feathers are represented in your job gauge and enables you to use Fan Dance and Fan Dance 2, which are abilities that you can weave between your weapon skills for extra damage. Fan Dance 1 is intended for single target, and Fan Dance 2 is better if there are 2 targets. Their attack ranges and areas are identical to your weapon skills. Since you can have up to 4 Fourfold feathers, you can choose not to use these attacks immediately and sit on up to 3 feathers for when you need a large burst of damage, or during temporary damage buffs. Sitting on 4 feathers is not recommended, as this can easily lead you to missing out on a 5th feather you cannot carry. To finish off your offensive toolkit, Standard Step is a weapon skill that initiates a Simon Says kind of minigame where you have to press 2 specific buttons in sequence. These 4 options presented override both your single target combo and proc spenders, and your AoE combo and proc spenders. Pressing the wrong button does not do anything, so you can just continue where you were if you accidentally do so. You can use Standard Step before a boss fight and do the Simon Says minigame preemptively, as the duration of the dance is 15 seconds. As long as you click the standard finish button before that timer runs out, you still get the full benefit of both damage and buffs. Using Standard Step preemptively this way is beneficial since the cooldown begins at the same time the dance begins. Standard Step applies a damage increasing buff to yourself and your dance partner. It also does a very large amount of damage, with one target, namely the one closest to you, taking 4 times more than the rest, so make sure to position yourself accordingly. Take note that the area of effect is very large, which can be problematic in certain situations. Both due to the massive damage, but also due to the damage buff it applies, it is very important that you use this attack on cooldown every time you can. It takes priority over all your other options, so take note of its 30-second cooldown. While it is possible to finish Standard Step with less than 2 dance moves performed, the value gained from doing the 2 steps is always worth it, so you should never finish Standard Step early this way. A note on closed position related to Standard Step. Closed position gives the dancer a giver buff and the receiving player a receiver buff. The giver and receiver buffs stack with each other, meaning that 2 dancers can choose each other as their dance partners. But if 2 dancers choose the same partner, while the 2 receiver buffs the receiving player gets will stack, the Standard Step damage bonus receiver buff will not. Always make sure to not have 2 dancer receiver buffs on the same player. Now, let's briefly cover the defensive options unique to the dancer. Curing Waltz produces some healing around you and around your dance partner. If you stand on top of your dance partner, you can both benefit from each other's pulses of healing. This can add up to a very respectable healing amount. Shield Samba applies a damage reduction effect to the whole raid, which can be very useful in many scenarios. If you are not sure when to use it, try and pay attention to the boss's cast bar. If it is casting something that has a name that sounds like an explosion, it is likely it will do damage to everyone, and this is a great time to use Shield Samba. Take note that machinists and bards each have their own version of this ability too, and they don't stack. Anavan dashes you forward 10 yalms in about a third of a second. For reference, the standard movement speed is 6 yalms per second. Keep in mind that your position updates when you reach your destination, so when using it to dodge mechanics, it is important that you are out of the telegraph and at your destination before the cast finishes. Before rounding off, I want to talk briefly about positioning. As a ranged physical job, you have a large capacity to move anywhere you want to. As such, if you don't have a good reason to stand far away from your party, you should stick close to it. This also makes it easier for the healer to keep you alive, among other things. Now, to round off, let's cover an actual boss fight opener and rotation. Start by using closed position on whoever you deem is most likely to do the most damage in your party, or second most if another dancer already claimed that player. Then, up to 15.5 seconds before the fight starts, use standard step and perform 2 steps. Then, half a second before the fight starts, use standard finish. This actually is the end of your opener, leading us to the general rotation. The dancer's filler rotation revolves around using their 1-2 combo and spending the procs as they come up. When optimizing, you stockpile up to 3 feathers and then use them in bursts. While this doesn't actually do much for you at this level, at higher levels, 62, you will unlock temporary damage buffs that make stockpiling feathers more valuable. Of course, make sure to use standard step immediately when it is available, as both the damage it provides and the damage buff are valuable. If standard step isn't on cooldown, use it. For AoE adjustments, when there are 2 targets, replace Fountain Fall with Blood Shower, and Fan Dance 1 with Fan Dance 2. With 3 or more targets, replace the rest of the single target actions with their AoE counterparts. Remember that all of the AoE options strike in a circle around you. Now, that is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support me and my channel, you can like the video, leave a comment, subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when next I post a video. And if you want to give even more support than that, you can also become a member of the channel like these wonderful people here. Fun fact, the song that plays in multiple parts of the Dancer job quest line, Vamo Aya Flamenco, originates from Final Fantasy IX and is probably most well known for playing during the Chocobo Hot and Cold minigame. This sort of makes sense since the name of the song means let's go flamenco, and flamenco means flamingo in Spanish, and chocobos are also big birds with long legs like flamingos, I guess? The association with the dancer job makes far more sense since it also refers to a specific type of dancing.